Once you've addressed thoracic spine extension, rotation, mobility, and then any scapular stability or motor control dysfunctions you might have, we want to think about any limitations to your shoulder mobility that might still be holding up your swing. Shoulder mobility is very common, and mostly because we spend most of our time outside of sports living in front of us. The back of our shoulders get restricted, and that can cause havoc in our golf swing. One of the most common swing coaching faults that you're going to find is when you're in your backswing that your elbow is out, and your coach will try and tell you to keep your elbow in to pull down through your swing. That's a shoulder mobility problem. Although the problem is at the elbow, it's your ability to externally rotate your shoulder at the top of your golf swing. So how are we going to address this? Well, we have a number of drills here that we can work through to tackle some of the common faults in shoulder mobility affecting your golf swing. This first exercise here that you're going to see, you need a light resistance band that should be very easy to find, and I mean light. Do not try and do this with a heavy resistance band. It'll be very difficult. Now, with your arms out in front of you and that resistance band attached to a fixed point, you're going to row your arms back. I want you to think about squeezing your shoulder blades together, but I want you to keep your elbows at 90 degrees. I don't want your elbows to fall, and I don't want them to come up above your shoulders. So you're going to roll that band in. From that position, you're going to turn your wrist up and out towards the wall behind you. So your arm should make a 90-degree angle from your shoulder out to your elbow and then straight up. So think about going from a rowed out T to a W. Now from this W position, I want you to, keeping your arms back, press straight up and out like a Y. Now your arms should be over your head in a Y position, in line with your head. I don't want your arms to come forward in this Y press. So now you're going to see in the video that when I press up, my arms stay in line with my body. Now you're going to pull back down into that W, so your elbows come to that 90 degrees. You're going to rotate your palms down towards the floor, so you come to that palms facing T. Now you're going to reach forward and repeat. So this is a banded Cuban press with a forward load. It's going to be very challenging to go through this without the proper mobility. So this exercise uses a little bit of motor control to increase the range of motion you have available in your shoulders. Seems contrary to the thought that we need to stretch for extra mobility, but you'll see through this exercise pack that we have for you, most of the time we don't need to do any passive stretching to increase mobility in the shoulder. So that's our first exercise, and I want to see you do 20 repetitions at a time for sets of up to 4. Now, let's move on to the next exercise here. This is a band or dowel Passover. This is an excellent shoulder mobility warm-up at the golf course because you can do this with your golf club, specifically your driver that has a longer shaft. You're going to see me do this with a resistance band, which adds a little bit of a component of motor control as well, but like I said, can be done with a golf club as well. You need to grab your resistance band with a wide grip overhand or your golf club, as wide as you can in the case of a golf club. If using a resistance band, you're just going to put a small amount of tension into the band. So you don't need to pull this out immensely, just a little bit of tension. And now keeping your body in this position, standing with your ribs down, abs crunched, you're going to pass that band up over your head and try and pull down behind your back. Rolling your shoulders through this full range of motion, called a banded or a dowel Passover, is going to really increase the stimulation of the joint capsule of the shoulder through its full range of motion. That's the common theme to our mobility work. We want to stimulate the joint capsule to grow its range of motion. So this exercise on the course can be done for 20 or 30 reps as a warm-up. It can be worked in with some of the thoracic spine mobility drills that we discussed earlier. And it's a great way to get the shoulders prepped if you find mobility is the key to increasing your performance on the golf range. Now, after we've done this shoulder exercise, and I should note, if this exercise is difficult for you, a wider grip will make it easier for you to go up and over your head. The narrower you are, the more difficult it will be to get your shoulders over and behind your back. Now, let's progress even further to another shoulder mobility exercise, and this is called a controlled articular rotation. It's very similar to the banded Passover or the dowel Passover, but it's going to require require a little bit more motor control, and it gives you a little bit greater range of motion because you're not fixed to an object. The key here is this exercise, you need to go as slow as I go in this video. It should take you 10 to 20 seconds or longer to do one single repetition. Now in the video, you're gonna see that I make fists with both hands. I want you to have that much tension in your body as you perform this exercise. Squeezing your hands, bracing your core. I want you to feel like you're working really hard as you go through this exercise. Now, keeping your palm facing your leg, you're gonna take your shoulders straight up in the air as high as you can possibly go. When you're at the top of this motion, you're gonna turn your palm out and continue to turn your entire arm until you can't turn your arm any further. Once you have all of that rotation, you're gonna take your shoulder back behind your body as far as you can, and as you go back behind, you're gonna find that you can turn your arm more and more and more as you go backwards. So you can see as I keep going behind, my shoulder is turning, turning, turning. When I get behind my back and bring my arm back to my side, my palm should be facing straight out away from my leg. At this point, you're going to reverse the motion. So keeping your palm facing out, you're gonna drive your arm back behind you. You're gonna find a spot where your arm gets stuck. So at that point, you're gonna start to untwist your arm and bring your arm out and around, back up to the top. At the top, your palm should be facing in towards your body. And from that position, you're gonna slowly lower your arm back to your side. That's one repetition. And I want you to perform 3 repetitions per side at that pace that you've seen me perform in this video. This is not meant to be a very simple arm circle. I want you to be fighting for every little inch of range of motion you can get out of your shoulder, and I want you squeezing all of the muscles in your body at the same time. Now, after we've done a shoulder-controlled articular rotation or a shoulder car, we're going to progress to a little bit more traditional stretching moves, and I'm going to show you 2 different variations for common limitations in the shoulder joint. The first one is a sleeper stretch, which addresses the external rotators of the shoulder. That's what's going to limit you getting into your backswing elbow in. The key with these stretch positions is how we're going to actively work through the stretch. So, as you see in this video, I'm indicating that I'm pushing up into my hand in the sleeper stretch. You want to start with a very low level of effort pushing up into the stretch. My hand is pushing down on my wrist is pushing up into my hand at about 20% of my maximum effort. Now, over the course of 1 minute or 60 seconds, I want you to ramp up from 20% effort pushing up into your hand all the way up to your maximum effort. And you can see that I'm trying very, very hard at the end of this 60 seconds, and this video obviously sped up. But when you get to the end of 60 seconds, I want you to be pushing up into your hand as hard as you possibly can. Once you hit that 60 seconds and you've been pushing, you're going to now try and pull your hand away from the stretch, as you see in this video, as hard as you possibly can for 10 seconds, making as much a maximum effort as you can, pulling your hand away. Once you've done 10 seconds, you're going to put your hand back on the stretching arm, push down into a stretch, and hold the new stretch position for a minute. After that minute is up, you're going to repeat the cycle, starting by pressing into the stretch for 60 seconds, ramping up from minimal effort to maximum effort. At the end of 60 seconds, you're going to pull your hand away from the stretch as hard as you can, 10 seconds maximum effort. Then you're going to replace your hand on your wrist and you're going to push yourself into a further stretch, performing this sequence 2 to 3 times per side. The next version is very similar in a forearm flex position. Now I'm doing this on a rack with my arms straight up over my head, but you can do this in a door frame, works very well. Somewhere that your body can proceed forward to allow more stretch in the front of your shoulder. Now with your arm overhead, you're going to repeat the same sequence. Pressing your straight arm into the door jamb or the rack for 60 seconds, increasing your effort level so that at 60 seconds, you're trying as hard as you can. And then you're going to contract everything on the back of your shoulder and try and lift your arm off the door frame for 10 seconds maximum effort. Then you're going to replace your arm and you're going to lean forward and stretch into shoulder flexion for another minute, just stretching, and repeat the cycle. These two moves, shoulder flexion and shoulder external rotation, are two of the big swing limiters as far as shoulder mobility. So we've addressed now tissue tension and elasticity with our Pales rail stretching as we've just performed. We've addressed joint capsule end range mobility through controlled articular rotations and banded Passovers, and we've stressed the entire rotator cuff through a full range of motion of the shoulder with the banded Cuban press. This is a full shoulder mobility workout that you can perform 5 days a week if you find shoulder mobility is limiting your golf swing.